Like any other video game franchise out there, at some point you kinda wanna go back to the basics, and by basics I mean like the good old days. Mario, for example, has gotten back to the Nintendo 64 days of old by porting over Super Mario 64 onto modern consoles with 3D Superstars or the Nintendo Switch Online services. The Legend of Zelda franchise that remastered both Twilight Princess and Wind Waker into fully HD incredible experiences that are still stuck on the Wii, by the way, and Metroid has blessed us recently with a Metroid Prime Remastered with amazing HD graphics that almost makes it seem like it's a faithful remake altogether. But now, what does that have to do with a blue hedgehog like Sonic? Remasters, people, that's what it is, baby, and terrible ones at that. Yeah, the fabled remaster treatment for Sonic is, well, it's not a great track record, to put it bluntly. With the way things have been with Sonic for the past 3 years now, things are certainly looking great with a blue blur of speed. Yes, 2 live action movies that were successful box office openers for the gaming industry, a brand new 3D Sonic game like Sonic Frontiers that revived the adventure era of Sonic, so to speak, and now Sonic Superstars that is set to release real soon to give classic Sonic fans the original level design that Mania couldn't really do back in 2017. Even though I still believe genuinely classic Sonic has been writing the Sonic community for quite some time now, and Sega finally has some idea of using it besides nostalgic cash grab pandering. However, on the remastered side of things, since, well, this is the topic of the video to begin with, yeah, it's genuinely one of the worst things to have ever happened to Sonic in terms of preserving the original feel to the games that once released on previous generations. Not to say that all of them are bad, as some are, well, passable to say the least, given most of them were ported over to either the Virtual Console, the Nintendo 3DS, or Wii U, to even some good collections out there like the Sonic Mega and Gems collection back in the early 2000s. Now, these two were like the jam, not to be confused with Sonic Jam here, as they provided 5-year-old me with so much dopamine as I played through Sonic 1, 2, 3, and Knuckles, despite never really beating them back in the day. Still, that idea that I played a game that was older than me on a console like the Nintendo GameCube, oh, that's a truly incredible experience, and I still wonder to this very day why wasn't that childhood happiness been brought back? Oh, the days of being an adult are really starting to get to me. But to say that these are remastered would rather be disingenuous, as really they are ports of older games just slapped into a CD instead of a cartridge. They got the job done and added bonus content to indulge every now and then, but to say they were remastered wouldn't really be the case here. Nah, if you really want to look at a proper Sonic remastered game, then look no further than Sonic Adventure 2 Battle, where this one has me confused. Hey, at least this game gave us Rouge with a bat. I'm not complaining. Sonic Adventure 2 Battle was the version of Sonic Adventure 2 that I remember playing because, again, that was also a Sonic game for the Nintendo GameCube alongside with Sonic Adventure DX, where, yeah, we're gonna talk about that one soon, and you can kind of like skip this part and go to the minute listed here. But if I recall though, when it comes to this Sonic remaster specifically, the general consensus here is that, for one, it's considered a fine remaster for the most part, given that it still retains the controls of the original Dreamcast version, and they just revamped it for the Nintendo GameCube, which I can still see to this very day. And given its moniker of Adventure 2 Battle as well, this game even had a multiplayer feature that allowed people to play against each other, but again, for the most part, the general experience was made with a main story campaigns. Again, this is a very cool feature, but it doesn't do much on like the Chow Garden. In fact, much like Sonic Adventure 2 Regular, a PC port was provided on Steam for Adventure 2 Battle that you can still get for like $5 or $2 or so, but it's more of a widescreen version, and unless I'm really blind and don't understand my graphical design, then I really don't see the difference between this one as many some say there is. I mean, we can look up on YouTube and watch a comparison video, but in all honesty, I really don't see it. Sonic Adventure 2 Steam Edition, though, as I like to call it, is just overall the better and current way to gain access to Sonic Adventure 2 and 2 Battle for those that never really grew up playing these games back on the Nintendo GameCube or even in the Dreamcast era. I mean, yeah, it's still the same technically minus the multiplayer feature in the bunch, but I guess for some it has the better quality of life improvements, and to me at least, it's also better than whatever the hell Sonic Adventure DX was back in 2003. And now that one, oh man, talk about the definition of nightmare fuel. Sonic Adventure DX is what I like to call a remastered remake, where it's remastering the original game for modern consoles at the time while also reworking and remaking some of the assets all the same. Character models are a primo example here, as comparing the adorable Sonic design in the Dreamcast original to the DX model, it just seems that Sega was trying way too hard to make the current modern Sonic design fit in a game that was, well, never really tailored for it, which also showed us that Sega here, well, how should I put this, was never really giving a damn about properly remastering this game in the first place, but hey, look at this cool box art for it. Yet, despite this critique that I think every Sonic fan has already said out loud at this point or on the internet, when I played this back in the day on the GameCube, I honestly didn't really mind that at all, like in Sonic Adventure 2 Battle, and I still don't, to be honest. Like, there's really no issue with these, but of course, when you use the mods for the Steam version to give it that Dreamcast feel to it, then yeah, I can kind of see what Sega wasn't really doing at the time, and the Sonic community, yeah, you finally are right for once. Congratulations. But overall, Sonic Adventure DX is still a solid version of Sonic Adventure 1, minus the whole graphical fidelity of it that again you can still fix with mods and the such. Level design is still very fun to play around in, and occasionally there were some weird bugs and glitches into this version that I mostly remember back on the GameCube, so I think the Steam version might have fixed it at one point, but I'm not 100% sure on that. But at the same time, this one also isn't a remaster that I think feels very comfortable playing in hindsight, even if it was something engaging to indulge in back in the day. And then Sonic on the GBA showed up and demonstrated that no matter what you do in life, the past is always gonna haunt you. 2006, folks, is the year we're talking about for this one, where 6-year-old me not only played Sonic Adventure DX, 2 Battle, Sonic Heroes, and Shadow the Hedgehog because yeah, I was the cool kid, but it was also the time where I was more than willing to accept my status as the kid that simply loved Sonic the Hedgehog. I mean, I still like Sonic nowadays, I mean, otherwise I wouldn't be making the amount of content I'm making for it now. And around this time also was where the whole Sonic 06 craze was happening on the next generation of consoles, and while I didn't have the consoles for it at the time, I still was really excited to see what this game was all about. So the idea that Nintendo and Sega porting over the original Genesis game onto a handheld system that I didn't grow up playing was way below my radar until like 3 years ago when I saw an Antude video talking about old classic Sonic games. Yeah, it took me this long to find out that this game exists, and honestly, I'm very proud that I've made it this far. And so now that we are talking about Sonic Remasters here, well, let's see what this game has to offer. Yeah, I was sure missing out. Boy, oh boy, do I now understand the Sonic community when they try to avoid this one like the plague, because whatever Sega was cooking for this one, yeah, they weren't cooking shit at all. Granted, to record footage for this one, I had to play on emulation, but even with this little bit of transparency, this game did not feel like anything was improved upon from either the original back on the Genesis or even with the collections I grew up playing. No sir, this one doesn't even deserve to be talked about any longer, so let's just skip this one and go for something that has more of a flavor to it this time around. I said more of a flavor, not food poisoning. Sonic Colors Ultimate, baby, the one game you were waiting to hear me speak about, given it's the most recent one in terms of Sonic remastered endeavors. Originally for the Wii back in 2010, Sonic Colors was a really nice fresh start for Sonic, especially after the success of Sonic Unleashed back in 2008. While that game is considered a mixed bag to some thanks to the Werehog and revisionist history with the boost formula, Sonic Colors on the other hand just brought a nice contrast to the modern Sonic formula that it was a really good Sonic game looking back. I even remember just loving this game to death too, that I almost got all the S ranks for every world, boss, and act out there, and just enjoyed my time with the Sonic Simulator stuff because it was just a fun time to be had, and it was Sonic on 3D, but different. Hell, recently I even dove into the DS version of the game for a review on the Rush games, and I really liked the originality that one brought to the table in terms of substance and gameplay that was just equally as enjoyable as the original console version. So then naturally when that Sonic Central presentation showed up in 2021 and showcased that Sonic Colors was being remastered for modern consoles, oh yeah, you best believe I was excited for it back then. Yeah, I sure was. Sonic Colors, simply put it, is the definition of shoving a rainbow up your mouth and expecting a good taste out of it, only to then result in you coughing up a lung in the process. And if that analogy doesn't work, then go search on YouTube Sonic Colors Ultimate Bad, and you're gonna see what I mean. This remastered was just terrible and didn't provide much substance in terms of additional content. I mean, yeah, sure, the original game is here, but why in the hell did they decide to make Sonic look so shiny? Did they not learn at all with Sonic Adventure DX? I mean, the visual presentation is so oversaturated and ridiculous that it doesn't make any sense at all of just turning on the contrast to max settings just to call it a remastered. All that was really needed was just upscale the quality of the Wii version, and that was it. Like, why do all this backwards graphical work in the first place? And the additional content like customizable shoes and gloves for Sonic were just meh at best, and while a neat incentive to replay the game a bit more, unlock those stuff, it's still bare bones. And I haven't even talked about the Metal Sonic races, which are just time trials. Like, Sega, you fumbled so hard with this one, god damn. Seriously though, this one was meant to showcase the good qualities of Sonic Colors, but what it ended up happening was provide enough fuel in the tank for some Sonic fans out there to say that Sonic Colors was always bad. With the amount of glitches and bugs that it has and the fact that again, it looks too goddamn shiny, Sonic Colors Ultimate just didn't make the mark here that it intended to make. But I still haven't finished my journey on Sonic Remasters here yet, because there's still one more I have to talk about here before we can finally close this chapter for good. You guys ever wondered if we were meant to suffer in this life? So after the sneaky mess that was Sonic Colors Ultimate, Sega decided to try the remaster treatment one last time, and that was with the release of Sonic Origins, where while a neat title for an HD collection of the original Genesis games, it also was a fitting name to demonstrate how terrible they continue to remaster the older games. God damn, they just don't know when to quit. Yeah, in case it's not only been stated with this one, Sonic Origins is just a really bad way to play the classic games, because instead of porting them and giving them a nice polish, they decided to add the extra mile of basically not giving us everything we wanted from the start and demand DLC content for it, which is the definition of but why, Sega? Origins was priced at around the $40 range, with like 10 to 15 bucks more. You get the perks that, well, should have been in the base game to begin with. Like, holy Moses, did they really turn this one into a cash grab. And while mechanically speaking it plays fine and it's solid enough to still enjoy the classic Sonic games on modern console, it's also lacking the quality of what made them so great of games to begin with. And don't even get me started with Origins Plus either, where they ported the Game Gear game so poorly and now a classic Amy is playable for the first time, which is pretty cool. But that's also under a paywall. Sega, you really are showing us how good Nintendo is as a company, aren't you? Sonic Origins as a whole was just a bad attempt of trying to provide a good, modern classic experience, and being the current one to follow the history of bad Sonic remasters, this is also rather concerning to some degree too. The reason I say this is because if this continues to be the case where if they butcher the next Sonic remaster, then that means the hope of playing the Advanced Trilogy or even Sonic Heroes might end up being in a bad spot, because somehow Sega is gonna screw it up, either with performance, controls, or just giving it a coat of paint that shouldn't even be there in the first place. And you better not be touching Sonic Unleashed with those greasy hands either, Sega, because we're coming for you. And so with all that said and done, am I optimistic on all this? Well, sort of, because at the end of the day, we have seen the many attempts at bringing something to the table at least, only of course to then be completely ruined by the usual Sega business tactics, but hopefully it changes soon and we'll see for sure. But, nah, it, what am I even kidding? This is Sega we're talking about here. Of course they're gonna up Sonic Heroes. And that's a wrap on Sonic Remasters, I guess, so let me know your thoughts below. Hope you guys enjoyed my suffering for this one, and I guess I'll see you with that next one, alright? Holy hell, this took some years off my life.